Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Monday night. We're asking the same question we ask every Monday night. And unlike last Monday night, he's back. Mark's back. What's going on, mate?
I'm back fit at last.
Back fit. Fit and
Back
well from
fit.
your
Man flu is over for me, hopefully.
Oh, mate. You know, touch wood. I do not want that bastard for Christmas. If that gets to me for Christmas, I want a bloody receipt to take it back, mate, because I do not want that shit this festive period. That is for damn sure. You can keep that to yourself.
Yeah, no, well, my wife's not too happy with this because she's not very well. So, get well soon, Gerald.
Should have got some perfume instead, mate, to be fair.
As Christmas gift go, it's not a good one, is it?
Absolutely. Well, we've got loads to get stuck into because thank God Newcastle United are back, mate. Football is back. Normal football is back. Exterior, Ash. There's no fivers in the post here. Come on, you've got.
You can tell Ash struggles with it with sleep, can't you? Because that's going to get anybody. That's just not. Yeah, just yeah.
Absolutely.
Please, yeah. If you need your glasses checked, get them checked.
I was going to say, Specsavers do good deals now, Ash, to be fair, mate, so I think you'll be okay. But yeah, so just going back to what I was saying, Newcastle United are back, thank the Lord. We've got Newcastle United to talk about. We've even had a game in St James's Park to cover, but there was a massive game the other night. We're going to get stuck right into this. A little bit of housekeeping before we get stuck into what's going on. If you're new to the channel, thanks for joining us. Smash that like and subscribe button if you can. We are currently on 2,166 subscribers, I think it is, Mark. I did my homework before I came on. So we're really, really close. Mark's fucked off already. We're really, really close to 2,200. If you can help us get over the line, I'd massively appreciate that. We'd appreciate that whenever Mark comes back from wherever he is. He's probably getting his wife some Barocca because he's in the bad books. So let's get stuck straight in then. We'll wait for Mark to come back in a second. But there's only one place to stay. There he is. He's back. Just like magic, you're back, mate. Just like magic. And speaking of magic, it's a beautiful segue, mate. Speaking of magic, the World Cup final was on the other night, and there was a certain little magician that stole the show. Now, I've heard loads of hyperbole about this, Mark, to be honest with you. Best World Cup final ever. My dad disagrees. He says the 1971 against Brazil versus Italy. He's advised I go on YouTube and watch that. But let's be straight here, right? The game was not the best game ever until 70 minutes in, was it really? Because France took the night off, didn't they, mate, until the 70th minute, to be fair.
France were dreadful for about 65 minutes until they finally woke up. But Argentina played them perfectly. It ended up being the best final, I think. Certainly in my lifetime. I wasn't there for the 71. I wasn't. Yeah, I was 11 years away from being here. So I have seen it.
You were just a drip in a ball sack, mate. A drip in a ball sack.
Thanks, man. That's just an awful image. Jesus Christ.
Even Dad.
No, I have watched it. So I have seen it, and it was phenomenal. But for pure entertainment value, in terms of team had won it, and then for the opposition to come back, pull it, get it equal, then for them to Argentina to go up again, and then for France to equalise immediately, and the save at the end.
Mate, that was class.
That sort of last hour of the entire contest was just sensational.
It was, to be fair. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. I mean, the game was obviously all focused on Messi and Mbappe, and Mbappe was pretty shit really for most of the game. I think, as you say, Argentina played them so well. To be fair, Ash, I think the end of the game was the best World Cup final we've ever seen. Do you know what it reminded me of, right? Complete contrast of magnitude of game. Remember the FA Cup final, West Ham versus Liverpool, when Gerrard scored that fucking monster strike from like 35 yards? It reminded me of that, really. Whereas West Ham were mint, Liverpool did nothing. Then they came back to the game and obviously bossed it in the end and then won on pens. So it's quite similar to that. But I mean, Mbappe, when he sprung into life, I think Gary Neville said he was frightening, and he is. He's frightening. I mean, that pace, that ability, that volley that he hits. I mean, he's got no right really to hit that on the volley like he does. A great strike. Two good pens as well against a penalty specialist that he showed in the actual shootout as well in Emi Martinez. So you guys can't read the private comments here. Marcus just said, "I'm going to kill this fucking cat," which is superb. Ash, you'll like this one. But yeah, so I mean, going into the game, obviously, like I say, going back to the game, Mbappe gets a hat-trick. It doesn't really do anything for the first hour of the game, then still scores the first hat-trick since Jeff Hurst in the 60s, which is an amazing accomplishment for Mbappe. It was quite good actually that Jeff Hurst even tweeted up he's had a good run, and it was great to see Mbappe obviously get the hat-trick and take the record away from him. So that was really good. Yeah, I just see your comment. I did Fox Schedule Fight Club. He did, mate. Him and the cat are having a massive battle of wits, mate. It's like Rocky. What is it? Rocky 5. Rocky versus Tommy Gunn. Mark versus. That's what it is tonight. So Ash is just wondering where you're going, mate. If you're off.
Honestly, he's found a shelf in the kitchen, right? And he's just decided that he can now climb up it, he can reach it, and he's just pulled everything off it.
Oh, wonderful.
He's busy playing with a battery. That's where I had to go.
Lovely. This is what happens when you do podcasts at home and you haven't got a studio. Maybe one day we'll have a studio like some of these other posh guys as well. But for now we'll make do with what we're home. He won't tell us anyway. It's the first rule. You're right, Tom. He's broken already, but he's fucked it already. But yeah, I mean, going back to the game, like I say, I mean, for me, I was just buzzing for Messi, Mark. I really was. That it was almost written in the stars that this guy was going to do this. I mean, out of all the kind of the older players, the aging players, he was the one standout, wasn't he? He was the one constant. He was the one who still looked like he was capable of doing something. You look at the likes of Ronaldo was poor. Likes of even the Belgians were poor. There's a lot of players in and around the kind of 30s that were peak and the way and the way they were. Oh my God, Mark's gonna jump off for a second here. I'm gonna carry this one through. He's having a mare with his fucking cat. Even to you too, Roger. Good to see you in the comments, buddy. Great to have you on board. You just come in at the right time while Mark's cat's decided to ruin the fucking set. But I mean, let us know what you guys think in the comments about Messi. I mean, a crazy start to this World Cup for Argentina. Obviously, winning it in the end. Do you know, Ash, I'm tempted to. The views we would get, mate, unbelievable. But I mean, you get beat off Saudi Arabia in your first game. All the hysterics are on in the media. Everyone's talking about you're going to be shit. You're going to go out and this is terrible. And then they go on and they win it because Messi just turns up the volume, cranks it up, and he's still class. I mean, this will be his last World Cup. I think he's already come out and he's already said that he's not going to retire. I don't know if it was from football or from Argentina. Someone correct me in the comments if they heard a bit more detail on that. But he said he wasn't going to retire. The manager said he's going to keep in place in 2026. I mean, do you guys really think Messi will be playing for Argentina in the next World Cup? I have my doubts. I don't think he will be. In terms of his next move in football, there was loads of talk about Inter Miami, wasn't there? So if he goes there, he's kind of in semi-retirement anyway because he's that good still. That he just boss it in that league. He could probably show up half pissed with his left bollock hanging out and be the best player in the league. As much as it'd be class for American football to see Messi and all those fans and the stadiums would be packed out and everything else. And I did hear the story that Inter Miami were going to take him, Suarez, and Fabregas, I think, almost like a Barcelona retirement home, which would be interesting. So, yeah, absolutely, Tommy, you would have got unbelievable odds on Argentina winning this thing after that Saudi game. Mark's just come at the best time. Now, just saying, Mark, after Argentina got beat from Saudi, nobody would have pegged them.
I thought they were gone.
After that, mate. I thought they were done as well.
I thought they were done. Genuinely, I thought they were going home. It was some turnaround when you consider sort of how late they got through. And then once they got through to the knockout stage, they were just, they never looked back. The rocky, couple of minutes against Holland.
Sorry, every noise I hear, I'm just waiting for you to run off the camera again. Sorry, mate.
He's gone feral tonight. He's just decided he's literally pulled the entire shelf down now. Everything just came off it.
You should have called him Junior, like Problem Child. Remember Problem Child? Right? That's what you should have called him.
Totally off topic, right? When we got him, because we got him from a charity. His official name with the charity was Trouble. I mean, we should have known better.
You should know, yeah. But Paulson is the cat in the pot, a la Fatal Attraction. Yeah, a flaming pussycat for I tell you what, he might get served with pigs and blanket. It might be cats and blanket, Paul. To be honest with you, but we'll try and battle through. Hopefully, our little co-host isn't going to.
Sorry about this, everybody.
Any more bother? But yeah, I mean, as we were saying, Mark, it was written in the stars. It was class to see. Obviously, Argentina. Crown champions, and we obviously it's been doing the rounds obviously everywhere on social media, but this was just an amazing image to see of Messi. What was your take on the weird Ann Summers style lingerie that he was presented with, and the 20-minute wait he had before he actually was able to lift this fucking thing?
Yeah. I mean, they talked about this earlier on the radio, and it's this whole thing about the whole political stance of not wearing the armbands and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, he spent like 20 minutes putting on this robe that was obviously.
I'd have told him to fuck off. I'd have said fuck off. I'd have said give us a World Cup. Fuck
for
off.
me, it ruins the image of the player in a shirt.
Number 10,
the World Cup off.
Yeah.
You should see that Argentina shirt, and that should be the image. That image just looks wrong. And Infantino not wanting to give up the World Cup as well to him. I mean, was it Shades of Blatter in 2002 who was very similar, who didn't want to let go of it?
Honestly, I think if Messi's already the GOAT, if he'd like stone cold stunned Infantino and just like nicked the World Cup off him, it would have been even fucking better. If he was going to retire, he might as well have just done that. It would have been the best. It would have been the best thing I've ever seen in my life, to be honest with you. So what was this? Yeah, it would have made Miguel Delaney's head explode. Absolutely, just after he'd wet his pants. I'm sure about that, Ash, as well. To be fair, he should have known beforehand that was the case. He had the choice to refuse it. But it's interesting, Paul, because like I say about the armbands. There would have been well within the right to go, well, no, you won't let us wear the armbands. Fuck you with the robes. What are you going to do about it? We've just won the World Cup. You're going to not give us a World Cup. You know, what are you going to do about it? But Messi's such a like, what's the word? An easygoing fella, isn't he? Like, he just doesn't want any hassle, does he? And you could just see, he was uncomfortable putting on. He was kind of like, oh, okay, all right then. Yeah, fair enough, mate. You know what I mean? But he just obviously, got on with it, didn't he? In all fairness.
I think he wanted it over quickly so he could get his hands on the cup. I think at the end of the day, once you've battled for that long and it's been such an effort, you want your hands on that trophy. You don't want to mess around. So if somebody offers you just like, just do it, but just do it quickly. I want that. I want the trophy now.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I mean, that wasn't the most iconic image of the night for me. There was another hero on the pitch, which we're going to talk about right now. We're going to talk about his performance in a minute, but this made the night for me. So obviously, Emi Martinez, a lad you know very well, Mark. He's won the Golden Glove. He's won the goalkeeper of the competition. He's at the biggest stage in football, and he decides to turn his trophy into a fake cock and balls and pull a face like he's had about 6 pints in the pub. He hasn't had any dinner, and he's just completely bollocks. And I thought it was fucking spectacular, mate. What was
Honestly,
your take on it, mate?
They say goalkeepers are crazy. I mean, he just epitomizes it. He's just nuts. I
tweeted that as well, Paul. I said that was Ryland as well. Get that guy back up, Mark. That was definitely fucking Ryland. That was, wasn't it? Look at that, man. He did like it. He liked the size of the club.
Honestly, it's one of those moments where you go, I mean, no. If you're his teammate, you're going in the background, you're howling, but on that stage, you're just going, oh, why did he do it? But it's just him. Man. You've seen the way he dances when he saves penalties and something. He's just an absolute head case, and I mean, he's the ultimate shithouse. I mean, I don't think there's a bigger shithouse now in world football than Emi Martinez.
But he's a lovable shithouse. Like Ramos had that part of being a lovable shithouse for a while, then he became a horrible shithouse. Pepe's a horrible shithouse, whereas Emi Martinez is a complete screwball. Like when he was going into penalties, I'm in your head, I'm watching you. Like the ref booked him, didn't he?
But it was the one way. Was it who's the? Is it too many that came forward to take it, and he sort of got the ball and he just threw it away.
Oh,
and you're like,
man,
that's totally got. And you can see the French player go, well, what do I do now? And it gets in their heads, and because they're young players as well, they've never dealt with anybody like that in their entire career. And when you're coming into a pressure situation, it's a World Cup final, and the goalkeeper's doing stupid shit like that, and you're going, what are we coming up against? Because I've never seen anybody do anything like that before, and he's gone through the Copa America doing stupid shit where he was calling people all sorts during the penalty shootout against Colombia and stuff, and he's just a nutcase, and I absolutely love him. He's just brilliant.
It's a throwback, though, to the keepers of old for me, like Southall and Burridge and guys like that. I mean, I look at this Argentina squad. They've got a kid called McAllister, and then they've got a goalkeeper who's acting like he's from fucking Benwell, not from Buenos Aires. I think it's fucking superb, man. There's a real kind of affection towards these Argentinian players. They didn't play like South Americans. They played like they could have been from England or Scotland. The way they were playing. Apart from that one superb player, but in all seriousness, one bit we've got to shout Martinez out for was this save. I mean, this was unbelievable. This was the game, wasn't it? This was the game for France, right? Yeah.
Just look at that clock.
I mean, but for me, he rushes the shot, the French lad. I can't quite remember the lad's name, but I think he panics a bit. I think Ian Wright said it in the commentary. He panics a bit and he just kind of thrashes at it, thinking that this is in the back of the net. And he doesn't think for 1 second that this guy is going to pull off this save with his foot, man. Like, fucking hell, look at that save. That's incredible.
It's just, I mean, I can't, genuinely, it's one of those that you just can't get your head around. And do you know what? I missed it. I was busy trying to teach my eldest daughter the offside rule because I thought the last couple of seconds of it.
Did you use salt and pepper? Did you use salt and pepper?
No. I paused the telly to kind of go, well, this player's here and this, because she was like, how is that player offside? And then when I unpaused it, the ball was going the other way and they were raving about this save. It goes the other way. And then who is it? Was it the other Martinez then heads wide with his bramble-shaped head?
Oh yes, I saw that. Yeah, that was. What was that?
And then it flashed back to
it. Was here? He headed it over there.
That was unbelievable. But that save. I mean, if you just, like I say, look at the time on the clock. You passed it, honestly. Yeah.
But you're getting it. You're getting it about this cat tonight, mate. You're getting it.
Honestly, man. But no, that save is. I mean, that is a save to win anything. It was so. Yes, the French lad may have rushed it slightly, but he did everything right in that regard. He kept it low. He hit the target. He hit it hard. Martinez was just, at that point, it just that man possession. He did, if you remember that save against Grand Qual, against Australia, where he comes out and he smothers, and he's so good at that. What's that? You said clock. What did I really say? Oh.
I think Ash misheard you there.
Oh dear. But honestly, it's such a monumentally huge moment. And I think at that point you go, that's them won. And when it got to 2-2, I thought France are going to go on and win this. But then his extra time kicked in, and then all of a sudden France reverted back to France from the first 60 minutes of the game.
Which was weird, wasn't it? Because it was almost like Mbappe was up for it, and then they couldn't give him the ball. But do you know, I think because they took a lot of the players off because they had this virus going through the squad. They lost obviously Giroud early. They took Griezmann off, and that was a big. If Griezmann and Giroud on that pitch, do France win that game? Very possibly, mate.
I don't know. I mean, they've not done an awful lot to play. I mean, Dembele when he started was shocking.
Dreadful.
I mean,
he's like he blows hot and cold. That lad, though. That's why no one struck a punt on him, mate. That's what it is.
I thought that Thuram played well when he came on. Who was the other lad that came on and was a complete difference maker? Whose name just completely escaped.
The kid that plays for Real Madrid, is it the?
Do you want to do preparation on this stuff, and then my mind's just gone completely blank and I can't remember his name, and it's shocking.
You're the stat man. You shouldn't be letting us down. That's too busy running after cats, you mate. Your brain is
exactly
scrambled. There he is. Look, Ash has saved your bacon. Ash will be on next week's What's Going On.
It was the Kolo Muani. It was Kolo Muani that came on. Camavinga is. I mean, just look at the names that you reel off in that French squad, and you think they're going to be brilliant for another decade. When you think how good William Saliba is, and he can't, he's not starting. When you've got the likes of
Maxi, when Maxi was on form and people were shouting for the French squad, he can't get anywhere near it, can he? So
exactly.
More on Maxi
but when you've got Kolo Muani there, you've got Camavinga on the bench, Thuram's on the bench.
Benzema was injured.
Yeah, Benzema's retired now, so.
Well, but that's another question. If Benzema makes that tournament, doesn't get knackered, did France win that tournament? Does Benzema go out with a hero who's kind of exit, really. So
there's an argument to say that they don't score the goals that they do if he's on the pitch, but do they play differently? He doesn't win the header against England.
no,
It's
England beat
totally
France. Yeah, it's
different
all ifs
way.
and buts, isn't it? Yeah, it's all ifs
It
and buts.
is. Now, they might have beaten us a completely different way, but he doesn't win a header in the same way that Olivier Giroud does. So, but I mean, it's just, I mean, you'll never know. You can play whatever simulation you want in the world. You'll never know it. But let's go back to it. It was such a good ending. And to see Messi, I mean, that was the dream was to see Leo win a World Cup, if only just to put one above Ronaldo.
I think that settles the argument for a lot of people now. I mean, I've always been a huge Ronaldo fan, but I've never doubted Messi's greatness. But when you're looking at the two of their careers and what they've won and what they've done and everything else, Messi's got that World Cup, but he hasn't. For me, that puts him ahead. That puts him ahead in terms of the greatest. And I think Messi is the greatest. And I don't think we'll see anything like those two, possibly ever again, at the peak of their powers. Haaland and Mbappe are class, there's no doubt about that. But will they get to those levels? I don't think they will.
I mean, there's nothing to suggest that Mbappe is there already in terms of the ability that he has and how young he is.
Yeah,
he's got another decade at that level. If he can do that, then absolutely. Haaland, I mean, he started well enough. If he can do a decade at that level as well, then why not?
As long as they stay injury-free is the big thing, because that's what Ronaldo and Messi did for so long in their careers, injury-free. Apart from when Ronaldo sprained his arse when Piers Morgan's tongue went too far up a bit. Apart from that injury, he's generally been all right. To be fair,
strained a tear duct on his way out of the World Cup as well. Yeah.
We shouldn't laugh, but fucking hell, did I not laugh? I tell you what. What I didn't like about him is when he walked off the pitch. I mean, you saw the rest of the Portuguese players. Look at Martinez going and cuddling Mbappe when he was on the floor and that last night. That's class. That's professional class. Ronaldo's got none of that. Storming off down the tunnel, crying his tits off, waiting to cuddle Pierce in the dressing room. Bullshit, man.
All about him. At the end of the day, whatever happens with whatever team he plays for, it's all about Ronaldo. And you look at the difference in the respect. I mean, look at the look that Messi gives Martinez last night. It's pure, it's pure love for another.
He's happy for Martinez, though, and he's basking in his glory. Whereas, like you say, Ronaldo would have been all about him. He would have been just running off with a cup, giving it soon, all that. I agree with Roger. Yeah, Messi not just only being a nice guy, but he's a world-class player. Ronaldo is an egotistical prick. Tommy, you're totally right. He's let himself down so bad in the last year. I think he's lost more fans, Mark, in the last year than he's probably ever done in his whole career, in my opinion.
Just for cozying up to Piers Morgan is one. That lose you an enormous amount of fans straight away.
I hear Meghan Markle's blocked him. I should say we should laugh. I laugh every time the image of him crying. I thought it was quite funny watching Suarez cry, because Suarez is a mint player and I love Suarez. Had he been a Newcastle player, I'd have loved him a bit, right? But he is an absolute little see you next Tuesday, and I was quite glad to see him crying with his big beak and just snot driven off when he was on the bench. I thought that was quite good, that, to be fair. I enjoyed that.
For a team, how very telling when the Uruguayans went out, though, is their first instinct was to just rage at the referee and rage at what went on. Yes, they were possibly hard done by to a point, but game's over. You can't change it. Nothing's going to bring that back.
Didn't Pepe moan as well about the ref, about they're all for Messi or something like that? He's a fucking knob.
Yeah, and to be fair, I was disappointed with our lads as well coming out and like Maguire. And yes, you can have that opinion about it, but just go out with some grace, go out with some class, and go. Do you know what? Yeah, we lost, but we played really, really well. Just go out with some dignity. And if you're coming out of international football at that point, like the likes of Suarez and Cavani and stuff, if you're going to be, that's your last game for Uruguay, go out on a high, show some proper class and don't come off just kicking off.
Yeah, they haven't got it in them, mate. In terms of Maguire, don't be too hard on him. Dr. Frankenstein didn't give him a brain in the lab, mate, so he's not quite there yet, to be fair. He's missing some key parts. But so that's the World Cup wrapped up. We're going to get stuck into Newcastle in a minute. But as it is a World Cup, Mark, we couldn't leave the World Cup without having Wankers of the Week as the final one for the World Cup. And we had to pick these two utter fucking melts out in the crowd. mean, what in God's great green earth is that shit, mate? What is Mambase? I mean, wasn't she one of the fucking dancers on Strictly Come Dancing or something? What the fuck is that, man? That is
honestly, it is, right? And I'll pull this up now, but that is an awful, like half and half. I mean, whoever invented the original half and half shirt needs to be shot.
Mate? Honestly, what the fuck? Yeah, that's absolutely.
Which is worse?
Biscuit. Oh, that is. I mean, why would you wear that? Why would you wear that?
But why will you wear that? And what I don't understand with that is you're wearing a Sunderland Arsenal shirt at a Sunderland game against West Brom.
Yeah, that's very.
Like, I can half understand Mbappe and Messi being the two key players and that, and you kind of look about. But I just don't understand that one at all.
That is
horrendous. But
sorry, Ash. We made Ash feel sick.
Mate, I am sorry.
Don't worry, Ash. We are done with that. Even to you, Monkey's in the house as well. But yeah, honestly, yeah. The World Cup. So the World Cup's a funny one. I mean, the World Cup opinions. We'll finish on the World Cup before, but we'll get back into Newcastle United, mate, because we are back and we have played a game at the weekend. But so World Cup opinions for you, Mark. I'll let you start with this. What's been your take overall of the World Cup? And you can't just throw in that Laura Woods is mint and it's great to see her on the telly. That we're not just having that one. So I'll stop you right there because I'm stealing that one. But what was your takes on the World Cup then, mate, in general? What did you think about it?
Kelly Summers is all right on BBC Two, so I'll go. Yeah, we'll cover both channels. We don't discriminate here. No, no. Look, it was an odd one. I didn't know what to expect of it. I thought the worst. I thought it was going to be poor with the heat and stuff. And I know they put air conditioning to most of the grounds and things, but it's an odd time of year. I found it really difficult to get up for it beforehand. But once it kicked off, I was fully invested. I was devastated when I was working and I couldn't watch games. You know, it was. I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the shocks. I've enjoyed the minnows sort of getting results from things. Watching Japan was an absolute pleasure at times. Seeing, it's weird, but personally seeing everybody get invested in it in terms of like in my family. So seeing like my wife was properly invested in games this time around. She's never shown any interest in football whatsoever. Yeah. And even the two girls have been properly like not completely invested in it, but they've been interested enough to come and sit. My eldest came down and watched the end of the game on Sunday as well, and that never happens. So it's that for me has been kind of the real high sider, and I have just thoroughly enjoyed it. And it was capped off by a brilliant final. So, you know, all the political side of it aside, I still don't agree that it should have been where it was, but I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, it's quite funny because just as a different side of it there. So my kids watched the final with me, but only because there was money riding on it. So we did a family sweepstake, bet responsibly. The wife had Argentina, and my daughter, my youngest, had France. So she wanted France to win so she could get her winning bet. And obviously, my wife had Argentina, who wasn't bothered at all. But my eldest daughter decided to come down and wind up the youngest one by cheering for Argentina to win, since she wanted Messi to win. But she didn't give a fuck, really. She was just winding up the little one. So I thought that was quite humorous, to be fair. But they were really interested in the final because it was quite exciting. But Monkey's saying there he thought it was rigged for Messi to win it. An interesting one. And he also says Laura Woods fan club 100%. And Ash says Alex Scott as well. There's no doubt about that.
Just on the subject of betting, did you see the bloke that put a bet on Argentina to win the World Cup? He got odds of like 28 to 1 or something.
Is that one like 900 quid back or something like that? When he put a 20 quid on something?
Due to stand to get just over £1,000. Unfortunately for the bloke, he bet on the Rugby World Cup next year and not the Football World Cup.
Fucking idiot.
You've got to be good.
The world of gambling. Peter says he wasn't that hyped for the World Cup. Do you know, Peter, I wasn't either. You know, that little story about my kids aside, I honestly wasn't that arsed. I think as Ash is saying there, he wasn't arsed. He missed more games than he watched. May talking about the podcast interesting when he didn't even watch any of the games. That's a good skill, that. And as Roger's saying, slow start, the momentum built. But it's a funny one for me. I was obviously I didn't agree that it should have been where it was. The time of year, I think, fucked up the season. I didn't like that either. I didn't like the fact the season had to grind to a halt all around the world, really, to accommodate this World Cup. I didn't like the way that FIFA were behaving throughout the whole thing. I thought it was pretty disgraceful. I didn't like the story about the armbands. I didn't like the I don't know, the slow pace that it started with. It did pick up, as Roger said there, picked up, as teams got into it. And obviously the final was breathtaking, really. But there was moments like Morocco, definitely, I think is a good moment, watching them do what they did. Yeah. That was absolutely incredible. Watching the master at work, Messi, as we said there, watching these egomaniacs crying their eyes out, and Ronaldo and guys like that. It was, some of that was good. I was obviously excited about watching our lads and seeing how they did. Disappointed that Bruno didn't get more game time from Brazil. I thought that was a real mistake by their manager. That disappointed me as a Newcastle fan. And if I was a Brazilian fan, I'd be a bit pissed off and all, because they were lacking some creativity, Mark, weren't they? I thought in that midfield area. And they had him on the bench and they didn't bother their arse bringing him on.
Yeah, I think he's probably is he a little bit too early in his international career to be the go-to player in that regard?
Yeah, probably.
I think his time will absolutely come, won't it? He's probably got another 2 in him. So it's we'll see lots of Bruno in a Brazil shirt. I'm absolutely sure of that. Yeah, I think he probably made mistakes by not switching things up a little bit more, and they were punished for it. But as Roger says in that, when you look at it, of how good Croatia were, how resilient they are. I mean, they were dead and buried at times, and they just never know when to quit. Morocco were exceptional. They've got some sensational players in their squad. And the Japanese, like I said before, they were so much fun to watch, and they deserve all the plaudits for what they did as well.
I've got to disagree a bit on Croatia. They were like the Stoke of the World Cup for me. They were fucking boring and dull as dishwater. I'm not having any praise of Croatia. I thought they were fucking crap. I really do. I think obviously Modric was mint, but as a team, they were utterly shite. Like they showed up for about 20 minutes of a game in my opinion.
I think they know what they're good at now, and they don't have a number 9. And this is the yeah, but you've got to give them credit when you're a country that's that small to have been to 2 World Cup semi-finals and a final in the space of 24 years. It's not bad. It's not bad going, and they've lost.
Easy, Roger. McAllister was in the World Cup final. McAllister was there. He was representing.
Yeah, but he's Irish ancestry, not Scottish. So
Scottish is in there. Scottish is in there. Me and Tommy are both claiming him in the comments. So sorry, mate. Go on. You were trying to defend Stoke Croatia.
Yeah, they know what they've got. They've got an aging squad. They've got some really, really good defenders. I mean, Gvardiol's going to be a star. Despite the fact, I mean, it's no shame to get torn apart by Messi once or twice. Every good defender's had that done to them. But look, they probably done a lot better if they'd had a proper striker. They didn't have one.
Definitely.
No Mandzukic
for years
anymore.
They had Sukas and they had Mandzukic and all these guys, and they haven't got that now. But you look at Serbia, they've got a wealth of riches in their strike force. If Croatia had one of those guys, it might be a better side. But honestly, they were that boring that sometimes I had to look to make sure Pulis wasn't on the bench for them.
Here's a controversial question then, and this won't go down very well in sort of the Balkan states and stuff and everything. But what if Yugoslavia still existed? How good would that side be?
Wow, they would have some unbelievable players. That's probably why they broke it up, didn't they? Just deliberately nick their player.
I'll stop there because I don't want to start any trouble. But do you know what I mean? When you go back and you think how good they had a side in '90 before the war started, and then when they've all split up, just how good some of those players again. If you could have put them all together, I mean, they would definitely have had a number 9. That's for sure.
Well, that's for sure. But it's over with now. Thank the Lord, and we can get right back to what's important. As Paul says there, let's get back to business. Let's get back to Newcastle United. So we did have a game at the weekend, as we all know. Well, you can call it a game if you will. Anybody who went probably would disagree with that against Rayo Vallecano. So we did actually have quite a strong lineup as well, mate. To be fair, which we were stunned at, really, weren't we? You and I, Nick Pope and Trippier both started in this game after their World Cup exploits, which shows you the professionalism of those guys to come back and play. Obviously, Jamal Lascelles captain the side, the bot man was there, Matty Target back, the left back, John Shelby, Longstaff Willock, Jacob Murphy, the Saint was back, and big Chris Wood up front, which we've been having some serious debates about in our Evermore chat group this week. But a strong side, mate. How did you feel the game went? Obviously, I watched it on the website. I think you probably did as well, and UFC.co.uk. A lot of people went to the game. What did you think about the game itself, mate? Did you?
Pre-season friendly, really, wasn't it? Or mid-season friendly. It's not to write home about. Longstaff's goal was fairly decent.
Great finish by Longstaff. Where did he put that from? I thought he looked quite mobile. He looked quite like sleek, didn't he? Like he'd been proper going for it in the training camp. I thought he looked quite good, did Sean?
I think he's had a chance to kind of build on where he left off when the league came to a halt, and he looks hungry, doesn't he? He looks like he's ready to get back to it. It was good position. It was such a poor header out by the defender, and then to take that first time from that angle, it was a brilliant hit. So fair play to him for that. Chris Wood showing Harry Kane how to take a penalty. That's
all he can do. He's lethal from 12 yards, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you could bottle that for the NFL, style, bring them on for penalties and stuff. But it's. I'm not going to get too excited about watching a friendly like that. But again, it proves that they're going to play a decent side, and they won. Regardless of who was playing and things, and it's another win. It's another one to chalk off and go, yep, momentum carries on. So they can take that into the cup, and then back into the league again at the weekend.
Absolutely, it was good. Paul's right. It was a good pen, to be fair. Absolutely. And Roger's saying that he did have a fear that Jean-Jo and Sean wouldn't work. Same for tomorrow night. Well, we are going to do a preview on tomorrow night, Roger, so that should be up tomorrow morning. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. But it's a funny one because I thought Jean-Jo was a bit what's the word? A bit lethargic. I thought he was a bit rusty. He was trying them Hollywood passes and kind of giving away a bit of possession. He didn't look as mobile, Jean-Jo. I know he's trying to find his fitness again. It was an interesting one for Maxi. There was a lot of rolling around, arms up in the air. Even in a friendly, rolling about, trying to claim free kicks and everything else as the game was getting played on. And I didn't like to see that. I've got my opinions on Maxi. I think, some of the guys, some of the regulars share those opinions with me that I don't think it's any secret, Mark, that we're being linked to all these creative players in January. Because I don't think Maxi's long-term future is at Newcastle United. As Monkey's literally just jumped in and said there that he'll be sold in the summer. I think he will be, Monkey, as well. I think his tea's out. I think if he hadn't got injured after that City game like he did, I think he possibly, could have salvaged something. But there's no secret to me, Mark. I think that, going for Pulisic, Maddison, these kind of players, I think Maxi's the one who's going to make way, mate. What do you think? What's your take on that? Did you think he was poor? Did you think he was poor? Am I being harsh?
I just think, look, he's on his way back as well. So let's not forget that he's not played an awful lot of football. He needs to be massively on his game, and a half.
Got to turn up, hasn't he? Has to turn up every game.
The problem with Maxi, you either get brilliance or nothing.
Yeah,
he never puts in a 7. He's either an 8 or 9 or he's a nothing, and that's pretty much it. And that's maybe he's a little harsh. But I think as sort of PK said in our chat earlier, don't forget the performance he put in against City. Yeah, he's brilliant. His goal against Wolves, brilliant.
Yeah, the volley against Wolves, yeah.
Other than that, there's not an awful lot else. And he was fantastic and this is kind of one of the points I wanted to make about him. But he was fantastic under Bruce, but then the whole team was built around getting the ball with him, plenty of space to run with the ball. He did an awful lot in that regard, but he was a big fish in a tiny pond at that point.
I agree with you.
I think he's now a very, very averagely sized fish, to keep the analogy, in a much bigger pond.
Monkey's pretty much in the same tone as you, I think, mate. Yeah.
He's a very good footballer, but I don't think now he's the right footballer for Newcastle, the way that they want to go forward. I think this is the reason why you're going to end up looking at others. We've talked about Maddison. I can't even remember the lad's name from Napoli.
You're the one who told me how to say it.
Is it Kavicha?
Cavaskivala? Cavaskilia?
I worked it out the other day.
Cavadonna, as they call him.
Cavadonna, yeah. Go back and watch Chris's Rumour Has It video. He nails it. Pulisic as well. I think those are all players. We talk about Moussa Diaby again.
He's still there. He's still
far from the.
Jack Harrison's another one that's been mentioned a couple of times.
Absolutely right. So I think there's a reason why those players are being linked.
Yeah.
The old thing of there's no smoke without fire. I think you're absolutely looking at that area to improve on. I think he will be a victim of it. Sentiment now goes out of it, I think. Okay. You can look back fondly at what he's done in the past, but it's what he's going to give you going forward. And I don't think he's done enough since Eddie Howe's taken over to warrant commanding even a start now. And that might be. I think, yes, Murphy doesn't give you an awful lot, but he gives you much harder work. He will give you that average score every single game. You may not do an awful lot else, but I don't know. I do think you need somebody that's going to give you that graft as well as that flair. And I just don't think Maxi now has the ability to do that. Yes, he's got the flair, but it's just not consistent enough. And he doesn't give you that work ethic that goes with it.
Yeah, as Roger's saying, the bench player, would he take? I don't think he would. I think he thinks he's better than that, Roger, so I don't think he would do. Paul's saying defensively questionable as well. Cash in. Jack is saying, no disrespect to Maxi. I just think he's been found lacking when it comes to competing for his place. I agree with that, Jack. I think he just expects to be the same player he was in that Bruce setup, as Mark's just said there as well. And he's not that anymore. Better players have come in, and players who are consistently performing, and also the players around him have massively improved. Almiron being one in particular has massively improved. Almiron is now more important to this side than Maximin is. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that, in my opinion. And I think Maxi hasn't got I don't think he's got the work ethic to show that. That's why Vieira fell out with him, in France as well. I don't think he's got the graft to put in to show it. Monkey's saying he gets slated for saying this about Maxi Facebook groups. Some fans just can't expect the truth, even against Wolves, apart from that, the volley was poor. Do you know what? You never get slated on this channel, Monkey. Every opinion, we're happy to hear it made. And you don't think that Eddie trusts in me neither. I think we had a chat in our chat group. PK in particular was strong about Maxi, but I think I made the point of how many of these players have we had before in the past, rattle them off, reel them off. Ben Arfa, even Robert at times. Robert was mint, but Ben Arfa is probably the most similar player to Maxi, I think, that we've had in recent times. And Ben Arfa, at one point, forget about it. We thought it was going to be the fucking Ballon d'Or, and then he went worse and worse, and he affected games less and less to the point where he was completely and utterly just a waste of a squad space. I don't know if Max will go that far, because I think we'll sell him before he gets there. But as I said, there's no smoke without fire, Mark, as you rightly say. We are looking at players in his position. There's a good comment there from Paul, which we're going to talk about this on Wednesday, Paul, so come back and check that out with me and Mark and the lads. We're going to talk about the Isaac injury. We have had some information there. We don't do ITKs, so we're not going to drop anybody in it. But we've had some info. We've had some information.
It's not quite like that.
That's not quite like that. But we have had some inklings that maybe Isaac's injury isn't anything to wet your pants about, which was me. I was wetting my pants in the comments, and I was told quite honestly, don't wet your pants about it. But it is quite disappointing that he hasn't played. But tune in on Wednesday, mate. We'll get stuck into the Isaac situation, because it is disappointing he hasn't played. But, after the little bit of info that we had, it did make us all feel a little bit better, in all fairness. So I suppose going back to the Maxi comments there, Sean saying his work ethic against Al Halal and Rayo was excellent. I get what you're saying, Sean, but these are really poor teams. Rayo Vallecano, Mark, showed up at the weekend just for a day out in Newcastle, really, didn't they? They were more interested in going down Northumberland Street, I think, than they were at St James's Park, mate. They were fucking dreadful. They were like, the free kick dummies you get when you just whip them over the wall. They're almost akin to them, really, though, that bad.
It's difficult, isn't it? You're a week away from the season being back. Nobody wants to pick up any injuries and stuff. Nobody's going to put in, a performance against you like that like you would get in the league. It's really difficult to kind of judge in that regard. Yes, fair enough. He might have worked hard in those games, but they're not being played at the same pace or with the same intensity that you would get in a cup or in a league game. Be interesting to see, if he's starting. Is he injured tomorrow?
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that in the preview, but I have heard he's picked up a knock. So Eddie Howe said we need to look at him. He said he did pick up a bit of an injury, but he said we need to look at him. So we'll kind of see what happens there. But for me, that's pretty much code for he's probably going to be injured again. I don't think they'll play him. I think he'll be out of the squad. We'll put our lineup up in the fixture in the preview, tomorrow morning. But I don't think he'll play, mate. I think he'll be gone. He'll be out of the squad.
No, it would have been interesting then to have seen just what you got out of him tomorrow. If he was going to start, what sort of performance you got from him. So I guess it's unfortunate if he has picked up a knock, he's not able to play, because then that ruins that chance to get him some proper match time, proper competitive match time. So that's a shame, because it would have been good.
He's got a window, hasn't he? Just one close on Maxi here before we just talk a little bit about the cup game. The window Maxi has really is from now really until the end of December in those games to get fit and to influence those games to change, I think, the transfer plans for January. If he does something unbelievable and he has 2 or 3 games like that City game where he's just electric, or like the Everton game where he's unplayable, you can't touch him, it might change the transfer plans. But I don't think he's going to do that. I don't think he is as influential a player in this team anymore than he used to be. That's a bit controversial to say that, because it's Bruno we'll look to, it's Miggy we'll look to, it's Joe Linton we'll look to, it's Callum Wilson we'll look to, it's Trippier. Maxi's almost slipped right back behind all of those players. And I think that's what makes him a bit huffy, that he's not the man anymore. He's not the give it to Alan and let something happen man. He's got to make those runs. He's got to share the stage with those players. And I don't think he likes that.
No, I do. It is a shame, because if he was to apply himself, if he was to play at that level, he'd be breathtaking. And I think if you could bottle a perfect almost performance from him and playing the opposite side to Miggy, they're almost being playable at the moment. But
man, them two out wide would be incredible.
I do think is there a little bit of huffiness there? Possibly.
I think so, because he's not the man anymore. Bruno's the man, isn't he? Bruno's the man. He's not the man.
I think he struggled to be fully fit, but let's go back to his comments when he said, "Put me in a side with better players and see what happens." Well, there are better players there now, and we've not seen anything to suggest there's another level to him. So, look, we all got proved wrong with Miggy, didn't we? We all wrote him off.
Massively,
look at our comments going back into the summer. We were all talking that it was Miggy that was going to be out the door. He was possibly going to leave in the summer. He was looking for that right-hand side. Bang, we were all wrong. Yeah, fair enough. We could all be wrong about Maxi again.
I'm not sure he's got the character and the humility to do what Joe Linton's done and to do what Almiron's done, in my opinion. Roger thinks he's not consistent enough. I totally agree with you. Tommy's saying hard to plan ahead with him when he's on the physio bench half the time. Absolutely. And I'm sorry, we clicked at the same time. Monkey's saying that we're a better team without him in the starting 11. I don't disagree with any of those comments at all. So he's got all of it to do, in our opinion, I think, really. And listen, we'd love him to do it because we love Maxi. A fully fit Maxi running at players, Mark, is one of the most breathtaking sights you'll see in the Premier League, because, I mean, this is a guy who turned Kyle Walker inside out, and Kyle Walker pretty much marked Mbappe out of that game in a World Cup, and he couldn't handle Alan Saint-Maximin. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Roger's just saying, he was just going to say there, Mark, if ASM and Trips had the equivalent on their side, we may see Maxi kind of stepping up, I suppose he's going to say that. He looks like he's piled on some weight too. That's an interesting one. I don't know about that. Maybe the scran was nice in Saudi Arabia, mate. Maybe he got stuck right in.
Is it weight or is it bulk? Is he putting a little bit more
Might be muscle.
mass?
It might be muscle, possibly. Maybe he's just trying to make himself a bit bigger so he's not knocked over. But he fell over God knows how many fucking times in that Vallecano game, mate. So maybe he's lifted too much. He's just tilting over to one side and he's tipping over with his new massive shoulders. But listen, we'd love him to get back to full fitness. But I do think there's plans afoot to replace that creative influence in January. And obviously, we've been covering loads on the Rumour Has It video, so check them out if you haven't already. So just to wrap up the Mark, up for the Cup. We're back in action tomorrow. We've got a Cup game coming up against Bournemouth at St James's Park. We're just going to have a quick look at, the other teams in the Cup and just see whether you think we've got a good chance at this. We're going to do a proper preview. We'll be up tomorrow morning on the channel with our team lineup and how we think the game's going to go. So make sure you check that out. I'm just looking at the fixtures now, Mark. So obviously we're playing Bournemouth. So those two teams are still in it. You've got MK Dons versus Leicester, Southampton versus Lincoln, Wolves versus Gillingham, Blackburn versus Forest, Charlton versus Brighton, is it Man United versus Burnley, and then the big one, City versus Liverpool. Now, one of them's going to wipe each other out. So that really leaves, I suppose, Man United probably the biggest team in it and amongst the rest of them, and maybe even Leicester. You've got to fancy our chances, mate, this year, haven't you? If we can get past Bournemouth, we've got to fancy our chances this year.
Oh, God, absolutely. I mean, the field's been thinned out, hasn't it? I mean, you look at some of those now, and yeah, you'd argue City or Liverpool, whoever comes out of that game, Man U,
they've got to be the favourites, yeah.
They come out of obviously the Burnley game. Yeah, Leicester, probably the other one. But even them, they haven't been in great form this season.
No. They're streaky in cups as well, aren't they? They've always been streaky in cups, Leicester. Nearly as bad as us.
Yeah, I think this is possibly as good a chance as any to get a trophy.
I think so.
When you look at the way that the season is now tilted, the lack of space in the calendar to move games around. You've now got to fit in the rest of the league games, the cup games, the European games for the likes of City and Liverpool as they go forward. As much as Pep loves winning trophies, his focus is not going to be on this. So if they get through, yes, he'll want to win, but he's not going to be throwing a full strength side at it, I don't think. I mean, to be fair, they've got like 2 full strength sides in their squad. So that it's a little bit of a moot argument, but you would fancy Newcastle's first side or first team now against City's sort of B side. Or A and a half side, I guess. Against Liverpool, they've not been brilliant. And again, are they going to be fully focused on a cup or getting back into the sort of the top 4 fight? The obviously Champions League fight as well. I think it's probably the biggest opportunity for a cup win that Newcastle have had in 20 years.
I would say so. Definitely.
Probably since the cup final. When was that?
Yeah. Was that 1999?
99
when Man United beat us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Their treble winning season. Shit houses.
Maybe it's not as good an opportunity as that, but and you come up against it. But for you to get there, I genuinely think this is as good an opportunity as you've had in.
Looking at those sides that are in there, I would definitely fancy our chances to get there. Just looking at your comment, Tommy, I was just having a little nosy there of my little TV guy, and I can't see anything yet, but there might be something cropped up there in the morning. We sometimes get whacked on the likes of BN Sports and those kind of guys, mate. So just keep an eye out for a link. There'll be a dirty link around somewhere, I'm sure, mate, if you can't get to the game. So Roger's saying there, no comparison, Mark. We want to win. We want to win all. Absolutely, we do want to win all. But I think, as you say, Mark, that Eddie Howe's got it up on the wall, hasn't he? intensity is our identity, and we don't go into any competition now half-arsed. I think, and we can't win. And I guarantee Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall have had those teams up on the wall, and they've probably said to the lads, "We've got every chance of winning this cup against all them teams there." The biggest team on paper there, two biggest teams on paper there. You've drew with one of them, and you should have drew with the other one. That took 98 minutes to beat you in the Premier League. So you've got nobody to fear. Absolutely nobody to fear there whatsoever. So the three biggest teams in there, we've gone toe to toe with them, and we've done a hell of a job against them. So I'm not scared of anybody in this cup. Hopefully we see off Bournemouth in the Eddie Howe derby, which is a big thing that obviously we want to do. And then I think we've got a really good chance, Mark. I really, really do. So
absolutely. On the subject of TV, it's Man U Burnley that's on tomorrow night on TV.
Of course,
8 o'clock kickoff, and then obviously it's Liverpool, Man City,
Liverpool
night. So
it might be a cheeky
somewhere, hopefully.
It'll be somewhere. It'll be kicking around somewhere.
Not that we advocate watching on anything other than official channels.
As long as Laura Woods is on. That's the main thing. Or Alex Scott, But yeah, so that's a great way to finish up. As I said, guys, we will have a preview up on the channel tomorrow, so make sure you check that out. It'll be our lineups and how we think the game's going to go, and Mark will have the stat computer going over time as well to let you know obviously how the head-to-heads normally go. Paul is saying massive ho. It's a whoa, massive ho. NUFC react after this break. All eyes on us, in my opinion. I don't know what he means, but I don't think he means a massive ho. A massive how. Massive ho. We've seen a few massive hoes in our time. Maybe that's another story for another podcast. So that's a great way to sign off.
That's a different life. That's a different life now, isn't it?
God, if we did podcasts back then, that would have been fun, wouldn't it? But as I said at the start, guys, if you haven't already, please click that like and subscribe. But we've got loads of room here and Evermore, all free content. We have the 2 live shows, What's Going On, that we've just done on a Monday. Wednesday, we'll be back at 7 with the boys to talk about obviously how the cup game went, to have one eye on Leicester. Obviously, what's the crack with Isaac and a few other things as well. Sorry, Paul has corrected himself. How? It was how, Paul. Absolutely. Sorry, mate. We just seen ho and we focused in. We're waiting for those dodgy comments to start coming up underneath the
I'm just wondering if that was the comment that gets all the links that now pop into the chat.
It's a weird algorithm that you say something like cheese and it just goes brrr, and it just all comes out. So it's very, very strange, very, very strange. But as I say, we're back on Wednesday with the lads. Make sure you come and check us out. We'll have a good chat about what's going on with Newcastle United. Obviously, hopefully talk about a win against Bournemouth and look forward to a quarter final, and then have one eye on the Madison derby at the weekend. But until then, keep supporting that team, McCoy United. This is Chris and Mark signing off. Have a good night, everyone. We'll catch you later.
Good night, guys.